My show is about mental health and wellness and transformation.
That scary guy used to get bullied, and it creates a moment. It's hard when there's an age gap getting kids to really pay attention to you. And so
Yeah.
I use it as a way of propping open the window and letting the light come in that gives us sort of a commonality to discuss. And then once I do
Yeah.
that, we're able to start having a really great
Love that.
conversation.
Sean Kanan's journey from a young fighter in The Karate Kid Part 3 to a beloved face on The Bold and the Beautiful, Sean faced not just scripts and cameras, but life's hardest punches. Today, he's more than an actor. He's a creator, an author, and a voice for those chasing their dreams. This is Sean Kanan proof that the real fight is never on screen, but within.
And my husband and our relationship, and
Sure.
just to be better. Like you're better for yourself first, and then you're amazing for everyone else.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I too am living a life beyond my wildest dreams.
Right.
And yes, you can have lots of fun and beautiful life without alcohol.
On the process that is necessary to achieve the results. Keep refining it, doing diagnostics, apply it effectively and consistently, and the results manifest.
Sean, welcome to Wake Up with Marci. Such an honor to have you here.
Thank you. It's so good to be back with you.
I got to tell you, you have done so much. I'm so excited to talk about your career and what's upcoming.
Thank you.
And I had you on my TV show recently
Right.
with Michelle,
Yeah.
and you guys were speaking about your book, Way of the Cobra Couples, which
Mhm.
has been an incredible success. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, it was great
And
writing a book with my wife.
yeah, and I love that because you guys have been able to help so many and coming from different perspectives.
Right.
So I know it's been so well received. And
Thank you.
you and I had the opportunity to recently meet at the International Impact
Yeah.
Awards, and you actually won Author of the Year for the book.
Me and Michelle,
You and Michelle, of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
it was a big honor. It was really it was a special evening.
I love it so much. And so, with all that you've done, and we're going to talk about, I know people know you from The Bold and the Beautiful, and of course, Karate Kid Part 3 and Cobra Kai. And those are all like such amazing roles that you have done. You're back in the soap opera world, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I've been back on Bold and the Beautiful now. This time for I think it's going on my 5th year,
It's
and
your fifth year.
yeah, and November marks my 25th year since
Wow.
first playing Deacon Sharp.
So did something change though? I thought I saw recently like something, was there a new
We went,
contract
yes.
signed or something? Mhm.
No, we had been at Television City, which is a landmark in Los Angeles. So many famous shows have been there. Carol Burnett, All in the Family. I mean, just on and on and on. I think The Honeymooners, actually.
Wow.
And after, I think it was 38 years, we left, which was actually kind of emotional for all of us. So our new home now is at Sunset Las Palmas Studios, which is about 10 minutes down the street in Hollywood.
Okay, that's the change that I saw.
Yeah.
Right, you've been there for so long,
This is
25
probably going to
years,
sound
and
this is probably going to sound really weird. My parents recently sold my childhood home and they moved out to Arizona, which is great because they're closer to me. And I
Mhm.
went home for the last time, and
Mm.
I don't know. I actually was more misty when I saw them pulling the CBS letters off the side of the building than I was with my home. I guess because I was excited my parents are going to be closer to me. But that
Yeah.
was my television home for 25 years.
Yeah,
And
I
knowing it
get
was the
that.
last time that I would walk through those gates, and there's so
Mhm.
much history there.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people felt that way who worked on the show.
Yeah, I bet so. And I think sometimes going back to like selling that childhood home, right? Like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
think that there's going to be so much sadness around it, right? And all the
yeah,
memories. But, it's kind of like that was your parents' foundation. And then
yeah,
they raised you, and then you created that story,
yeah,
right? With the bold and the beautiful. So
yeah.
I could see where there'd be more ties there, right?
I think
Or
also I think also when you're an actor, it is such a mercenary existence in the sense that, most actors will get a job, they'll work the job, and then they're on to another job if they're
Yes.
fortunate. And it isn't very often, or at least it's not the norm, that you have the luxury of extended employment and playing the same role and working on the same show for, multiple decades. And so when you
100%.
find something like that, it really resonates with us as actors that it's something very special.
And it's like a family. It's your family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It really is.
100%.
People always ask
100%.
me, they're like, do you spend a lot of time with the people from the show? And I'm like, I don't, but we spend a ton of time together, at work. So our
Right.
socializing is in the makeup room and preparing for our scenes and everything. And then we go home to our families. But we have, a very rich life with each other at work, which is very
Yeah.
special. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you, when you started your acting career,
Mhm.
was being in a soap opera, was that like something that you dreamed of, like you really
No,
wanted to
not at
happen, or it
all.
just
No,
unfolded that way?
not at all. And people ask me that a lot. They sometimes kind of ask me and imply, why are you still doing a soap opera? And I'll tell you why. Because I have the luxury of going and doing things like Cobra Kai. I have the luxury and the financial, base to go produce this film that my wife just directed. And so it affords me a sense of security, but
Mhm.
still have the ability to go out and take chances and do other things. That's part of it. The other part of
Yeah.
it is I love my job. I love the people I work with. I love the character that I play. I think if I was really locked into a contract where I couldn't do anything else, that would be a problem for me.
That would be hard. Yeah.
You know
Mhm.
me. I do lots of different things. I produce, I
Yeah.
write, I coach, and so for me, the different things that I do each satisfy a different creative bone in my body. But because they're so wonderful to me, and I have really amazing flexibility, I'm very happy there.
Yeah. I think that's wonderful. And at the core of it, it's that stability and that
Yeah.
connection that you have, right?
And
So,
the stability gives me the opportunity to go and take creative chances elsewhere.
yes.
For me, I don't look at it like it's a golden cage, and a lot of people
Mhm.
do. For me, I look at
Mhm.
it like it facilitates the visibility that I have, the financial wherewithal that I can go and do these other things. I mean, if I want to take off and go do a play where you make
Yeah.
like no money, I can go do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about paying my rent, which is a blessing.
Yeah. Can you write off Deacon for no, you probably do it in the off
No,
time.
I don't like to ask him to write it. Well, here's another great thing. The way we film, we do 1.5 shows a day. So, we can also structure things that we do pre-taping. So if I know I'm going to
Uh-huh.
be away for a couple weeks, they can occasionally pre-tape a bunch of my shows, so the
Mhm.
audience never really knows I'm gone.
Right.
So
Of
it's
course.
terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And I got to tell you a little secret about me that that I don't share much is that my dream growing up is that I wanted to be Erica Kane and I wanted to be on a soap opera.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Well, so let me ask you a question because I've watched her in the past. Was her daughter Greenlee?
Greenlee?
Yeah, the character Greenlee, I think, was Erica's daughter, and that's the actress Rebecca Budig, who now plays Taylor, that I'm now
Oh,
involved in
too
a
funny.
storyline with.
Oh,
Yeah,
that is too funny. I can't answer that
I
question.
think
I just
so.
know I love
Yeah,
Erica Kane.
yeah, yeah. Right? Who doesn't? She's an
But,
icon.
yeah, it's so fun. And let me tell you, being in a soap opera, I've heard, is not easy. Like, you can't veer off of the script, right? Like, that's the rumor I've heard.
That depends, but yes, I mean, you want to respect the writers and what they're doing. I think there's two things that are difficult about a soap opera. It's the voluminous amounts of dialogue.
Yeah.
And you can be a really terrific young actor, and if you aren't able to deal with the amount of dialogue that you have to learn, you're not going to be able to sustain yourself in soaps. You just can't
Mhm.
because we move
No.
so quickly. That's the first thing. The second thing is, as an actor on a soap, you impart the same information again and again and again because that's the design. If somebody didn't tune in Friday, they got to know what's going on Monday, right?
Right,
And
right.
and you know, a lot of us occasionally get frustrated with that, and then we all remind ourselves that that is one of the challenges of the medium. How do I take something I've said before and make it fresh and interesting so
Mhm.
that it's not boring to the audience, and as an actor I'm not doing something redundant so that my acting is no longer interesting. And that's it,
Right.
you know, and every medium
Yeah.
has different things. You know, when you do a play, once the curtain goes up, no one yells cut. You don't have the advantage of a second take. When you're doing
Yeah.
films, you know, you shoot a lot less material. It's out of sequence, although we do that
Yeah.
in daytime. You know, sitcoms are set up jokes. So every medium has something to contend with, and you don't
Yeah.
complain about it. You know, overcome it and, you know,
What
make it interesting.
what would you say has been your hardest role?
My hardest role. Well, I'll tell you, I just finished a film a couple months ago, and it's making the rounds right now with the festivals for Oscar consideration. It's called The
Oh,
Persian
wow.
Rug. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's called The Persian Rug, and I play a French director, and I was hired sight unseen. I didn't audition for it, and I don't think they knew whether I could do a French accent or not. French accent's a very difficult one
Yeah.
because it's very easy to sound like Maurice Chevalier. You know, you can sound like over the top or Pepe Le Pew. And so I had a limited amount of time, maybe a couple weeks, to work with a dialect coach, great dialect coach out here in LA named Scott Moffat. And he really got me in shape to do it. And I'm actually very proud of, you know, what we were
Wow.
able to do in the film. That was
Mhm.
challenging. I would say
Yeah.
the most challenging roles for me probably are ones I've done in theater. You know,
Yeah.
people always say to me, how do you learn so much dialogue on the soap? Well, there's a big difference
Yes.
between learning dialogue for a character that I've played for 25 years and I know all the other characters in the plots. And if I
Mhm.
said to you, Marci, here's an Ibsen play, learn this in two
Mhm.
weeks. Do you know what I mean? Which is
Yeah.
completely unfamiliar
Right.
material.
Yeah.
So plays tend to be difficult, but I love challenges when I'm acting. I mean, you know,
Mhm.
you
I
don't want it to become easy.
Yeah, I get that, and the challenge is fun, right? That
Generally
creativity
speaking,
behind it.
sometimes during the course of the process, it's difficult and maybe not quite so much fun, but you know, the
Just like anything.
like anything,
Yeah,
you know, you've
just
got I'm a
yeah.
huge proponent of, if you want results, ignore them. Don't focus on the results, focus on the process that is
Yes.
necessary to achieve the results. Keep
Yeah.
refining it, doing diagnostics, apply it effectively and consistently, and the results manifest. And it's the same with
Yeah,
an
and
acting role.
I don't think people also understand, at least, listen, I've done this much acting in my life, but doing like indie films and such, like you're talking about, right? Having the other characters involved, and it's not just learning your part. I mean, you've got to
Right.
know, right? What's the response? What's
Yeah.
next? Like, what
Yeah.
is the other person saying, right? So you
Sure. Well,
have to have an overall.
it's an interesting point. I mean, I teach acting. I always like to quote Mike Tyson and say, you know, everybody's got a plan till they get punched in the mouth. And what I mean by that is you can do all your preparation for your role as an actor, but
Yeah.
acting is not solitary. And so the other
No.
actor is doing all of their preparation. So what happens is you don't know what's going to happen. And that's what gives you moment to moment acting, which creates conflict and which makes it, you know, interesting and dynamic.
Yeah.
So, you
Mhm.
know,
100%. Now, let me ask you, you were telling me a little bit about Bloodhound. And first off, I know you and Michelle have done this project together.
right?
Where did this idea come from, and why was this series so important for you?
So this is a streaming series that is still we're still working on, and
Mhm.
it deals with the single greatest art heist that has been unsolved, except for possibly this new one with the Louvre and these diamonds and jewels. But it's the Isabel Gardner Museum art heist. And so the story follows my character, who's the FBI agent, on the trail, and it jumps back from the 90s during, you know, the time with Whitey Bulger in Boston, and
Mhm.
the present, where my character is dealing with impending dementia and wants to solve this case before he's unable to. And so it's been really terrific. Michelle has directed all of them. We sort of put that on hold because we just finished a really exciting feature film project that Michelle and I wrote, Michelle and I produced, and Michelle directed, and I acted, which is called Body Man, and
Oh,
it's a full length feature film. It's set against the backdrop of human trafficking and fentanyl that unfolds
oh,
during
wow.
the California senatorial race, and I played the incumbent senator. And it involves the cartels, and it's a female driven political action thriller, and
Mm,
we think it's
sounds
terrific.
good.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and we're getting ready to take it to the American film market in about 2 weeks, and take our little baby to market and see how we do.
That is so exciting.
Yeah,
Congratulations. I
thank
love
you.
that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're doing so many amazing things and you continue to do amazing things. And I tell you, I don't know when you're going to stop. Maybe it's when you go up to the good Lord.
Right.
But you've also you're a really big mental health advocate. You've gone
Yes.
through difficulties
Yeah.
yourself. And the
Yeah.
show, so much, my show is about mental health and wellness and transformation. So
Absolutely.
you take us behind all of this success, where you realize that you yourself needed to take a pause
Mm.
and address some things that were going on with
Yeah.
yourself.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for what you do, because everybody like you who is working to drag mental health issues from the darkness into the light so that people feel comfortable and supported talking about them instead of hiding them. I really applaud. So thank you for doing that. Before I wrote Way of the Cobra, I found myself in a place where I was 50 years old. I was like 35, 40 pounds overweight. I was really struggling with alcohol addiction. And I knew that I had to make some profound changes in my life, or I was going to swirl into a life of, at best, mediocrity. And I made some significant changes. I got sober. I lost the weight. But as important as those things were, I also looked at a lot of the psychic scars that I carried from when I was bullied as a kid,
Mm,
and that negative self-image I carried around, kind of, I guess you call it your inner child. When I was able to process that stuff and move on from it, my life changed.
yeah.
And I just got back from being in my hometown in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, and I spoke to 5 different middle schools because October is Bullying Prevention Month. And so, I'm able to speak to these kids from a place of intimate knowledge. And usually what I do is I play the scene from Karate Kid 3 where Mike Barnes is, terrorizing Daniel LaRusso. And when it's over, I asked the kids, I said, would you believe that that scary guy used to get bullied? And
Yeah.
it creates a moment of, it's hard when there's an age gap getting kids to really pay attention to you. And so
Yeah.
I use it as a way of propping open the window and letting the light come in that gives us sort of a commonality to discuss. And then once I do
Yeah.
that, we're able to start having a really great
Love that.
conversation.
Yeah.
And it really, being in the trenches and actually talking to the kids about bullying, and even some of the really brave kids who talk about maybe why they've bullied in the past.
And
Um,
you've had that.
yeah, it's super fulfilling. And
Wow.
suicide is the third leading cause of death among adolescents, and
Yeah.
bullying is an enormous contributing factor to that. And so for me, I'm a very big proponent of service. I think it's very important, and this is one of the ways that I like to be of service because I've experienced it myself.
Yeah. So powerful, Sean. Thank you for sharing. And for you, though, recognizing that you were struggling with drinking, and would you say that how long did that process happen for you? Like, was it kind of like the last year of your drinking just became too toxic and too
No,
much,
no,
or
no.
was it a long,
No,
right?
my drinking had been problematic for decades. I'm just a very high functioning guy, and I would have
Yeah.
long periods of being able not to drink, but I was a binge drinker, and so it was really destructive.
And would you say that that was because, was that linked back? Would you say that that was linked to your trauma from being bullying and the lack of self-confidence? Did you start because of that?
I don't want to sound like a victim and I don't want to make excuses. I would say that probably I used it as self-medicating for anxiety,
Hmm.
anxiety that came from, probably low self-esteem and things like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's funny, there's this whole study with addiction where they talk about when people fall in love, but real love, that's the
Yeah.
point where a lot of people are able to quit because that connection provides a similar connection to what substances and alcohol do for people.
Mm,
It creates a link, it's a type of bond.
yeah.
And I think once I was able to start loving myself, that was the beginning of walking out of the dark woods.
Yeah.
And the relationship that I have with my wife, Michelle,
Mhm.
was, kind of the guide that helped me get there. And
Yeah.
it's amazing because I could not do it myself. I couldn't quit myself. And, whether you're religious or not, call it the universe, call it God, I prayed daily to have this obsession lifted
Yeah.
from me. And I couldn't do it.
Mhm.
And it has been lifted. And that's what's the most amazing thing. It's not like I'm going to diet, but sooner or later I'm going to eat cheesecake. I don't feel the pull to it like I used to. And there was a powerful pull to it. And
Yeah.
now I've channeled it into other things, and my life's
Mhm.
more exciting now than it ever was. And I had a pretty exciting life while I was drinking, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah.
exciting now. Yeah.
I totally get that. I mean, I use just because it was so normalized and for so long, and it was to push down my trauma.
Mm,
And I used to be a victim. I'm not going to lie. I mean, well, I was a victim as a child, but then I had that victim mentality and used
right.
alcohol to cope.
Right.
And it was the hardest thing I ever did, putting down the drink.
Yeah.
But then the real work is the healing, right? And like
Yes.
you
It's
said,
it's creating a
putting
happy
back.
life for yourself. Y-
Exactly. And then finding that love for yourself is so powerful. And then just that, how that helped me and my husband and our relationship, and just
Sure.
to be better. Like you're better for yourself first, and then you're amazing for everyone else.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I too am living a life beyond my wildest dreams.
Right.
And yes, you can have lots of fun and beautiful life without alcohol. I
You
guess I
can.
thought I couldn't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. Marci, it's like this great Joseph Conrad quote where he says, "The treasure that you seek lives in the cave that you fear to enter." And I thought for
Love
a
that.
long time, well, if I get sober, I'm going to be boring. I'm not going to
Yeah.
be as good an actor. I mean, it was all crap
Oh, gotta
because
get it.
I am an infinitely better actor now because I'm
Yes,
actually in
100%.
in touch with myself. And for people that are listening to this and they're like, well, how do you do it? You're giving us a lot of sort of broad strokes. What I will tell you is this: the fastest way to build self-esteem is to do estimable acts. Get out of yourself, be of service,
Mhm.
help other
Yeah.
people. You will feel better about yourself. And as you feel better about yourself, your confidence and self esteem escalates. And
Mhm.
it makes it a lot easier not to have to rely on something outside of yourself, whether it's food or excessive shopping or gambling or people use sex. I mean, all sorts
Yeah.
of things that we all use when we're looking to fill a hole. And I call it in my book, filling the WHOLE, because you're trying to feel whole. But the problem
Mhm.
is that hole is an endless black hole that you cannot
Yeah.
fill. And so you have
Yeah.
to, you
I
got you got
love
to
that
fix it
so
from the
much.
inside.
You gotta
So,
fix it from the inside.
yeah.
That's where it starts. You have a
Yeah.
new book coming out?
I do not. My wife said she'd divorce me if I wrote another book. She's like, no more books for a
You
while.
have a workbook or something? Did I see something about a workbook?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Our big one that we're pushing right now is the third installment of the Way of the Cobra trilogy, which is Way of the Cobra Couples, and Michelle and I co-authored it. And listen, when you have a book, you go on shows and you try and sell it. But honest to
Yeah.
God, please get the books. I mean, if you want to
Yeah.
change your life, go to Amazon, start with Way of the Cobra, then read Welcome to the Kumite, and then read Way of the Cobra Couples. And I'll tell you what, if it doesn't change your life, if you put it into action, I'll give you your money back 3 times over.
All right, Sean. So the final question here is for those out there listening. those are struggling with addiction or their worth or fear of starting over, what's one thing that they could walk away with today?
All I can tell you is that whatever fear is keeping you from living the life that you want to lead, that is the fear that you must walk through to have the life that you want to lead. And,
Mm,
speaking from somebody who has walked through the fear that I had with, alcohol addiction and coming, at least today, out the other side, wow, there's a better life out there. There
yeah.
really is. I mean, think about, if you struggle with alcohol and substances or gambling or anything, chances are you've burned the house down before. You've burned your
Yeah.
life to the ground. So if you've burned it to the ground, don't be afraid of burning it to the ground again in a positive way and rebuilding it, this time with a clear head and focus, instead of, scrambling to mitigate and do damage control, because you can
Mm,
build a better life. Listen, I if I look back and look at the things that I blew and lost when I was drinking, houses, things like that, da 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 da. Guess what? They've all come back to me and more.
mhm.
My career is better now than it ever was. Da 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 da. I've got the woman of my dreams. So
Yeah.
don't be attached to the life that you need to say goodbye to. Embrace the life that waits for you.
Mm, love that, Sean. And it's so true. So true.
Yeah, it
That
is.
that hit home for me as so. Sean, thank you so much for being on Wake Up and being so open and showing your strength and your heart. And it
Thanks,
just
Marcy. I appreciate it.
helps us helps us all and
Yeah.
reminds us, that we're not alone in this.
You
And
know,
yeah,
it's with that song, just a slob like you and me. Look, we're all just walking through this life, trying to
yeah,
figure it out. When you realize that we're all just trying to figure it out, if we don't have any other commonalities besides that, we're all
yeah,
just trying to figure it out. And spend
yeah.
less time worrying about how you look to the outside world and more time about how you feel on the inside
Mm,
of yourself, and the rest will take care of
inside.
itself.
100%. Well, I wish you so much luck with
Thanks,
your
Marcy. You
project, your
too.
upcoming projects. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you. I hope to see you November 16th here in New
That would be
Jersey.
great. I would
Point
love
Pleasant.
that.
See you in
I would
person.
love it.
Please tell Michelle I said
I
hello.
will. You take care of yourself, Marcy. Have a great weekend.
Okay, you too. And
Okay.
until next time, guys, remember you are not broken. You are becoming, and it's time to wake up to your worth. And I'll see you next week, every Thursday, with a new episode. Bye bye. Have a great week.